Well, it looks like the fighting Colorado Rockies are going to lose this series to the Pittsburgh Pirates. Let's see if this score holds. Going live here with 2 outs in the bottom of the ninth inning on your Locked On Rockies postcast. It's a 2-2 count. The hero of yesterday's game, Hunter Goodman, up to bat right now with runners on second and third. And here comes the pitch. Let's see if Goodman can do something, fouls it off. But like I said, the score right now is 8-2. The Rockies, in all likelihood, will wind up losing this game, which would result in a series defeat and would be unfortunate, especially with the Los Angeles Dodgers coming into town. We'll break it all down on a special Father's Day edition of the program right here on the Locked On Rockies postcast. Stick with us, folks.
You are Locked On Rockies postcast, powered by Mile High Sports, part of Locked On Sports Denver on the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
It is Locked On Sports. This is your Locked On Rockies postcast, and I am your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is doing A-OK out there on this Father's Day, as unfortunately, the Rockies unable to make it a happy Father's Day for their fans and the fathers that are Rockies fans who maybe took their kids to the game, as they lose today by a final score of 8-2 against the Pittsburgh Pirates. Certainly a disappointing outcome for this team. And I hate to say it, but this is kind of what I was worried about what was going to happen is, would the Rockies save any runs, save any production after last night's 16-run onslaught against the Pittsburgh Pirates in the second game of the series? That did not carry over whatsoever for the Rockies in this ball game, as they have 9 hits, which I guess isn't bad. They had a good scoring opportunity there at the end of the game as Hunter Goodman K's on a rather questionable strike 3 call, I may add. And I saw my guy Drew Kreisman on Twitter today as well, to our X, whatever you want to call it, talking about how the strike zone was a little up and down today. I caught a majority of the game, but I was judging a belly flop contest earlier today at Waterworld on this Father's Day. So that's where I was as the game was starting, made my way up here north to my folks' place so I could celebrate Father's Day, catch the rest of the game, and so on and so forth. But let's start there. A happy Father's Day to each and all of you out there that are fathers or have a father or just celebrating Father's Day in general. I know I can speak for myself when I say that my father played an absolutely I would not be doing this show. I would not be working in sports media. I don't even know if I'd be a sports fan if it wasn't for my father. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there. Always a good day to kind of sit back, relax, reminisce, and look back on some fond memories with your father, with your dad, your grandparents, all that good stuff as well. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and all the kids who have dads out there that are celebrating it. Unfortunately, like I said, if you're a Rockies fan, I guess you're a little conditioned to losing at this point, and losing in pretty convincing fashion, because that's what happened today with an 8-2 final score in this ball game, as the Rockies fall now to 25-46 on the season. So just a disappointing game. But this is Locked On Sports, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by our friends over at Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, they do apply, but be sure to check out our friends over at Game Time. And I'm getting ready to go to Chicago this upcoming weekend to see the Mets and the Cubs play, and you best believe I'll be getting my tickets on Game Time. So more words from our friends over at Game Time here in just a few minutes. But the big theme, like I said, for today's show, I would say is, and I know it doesn't work like this, but they used up all their offensive power yesterday. They blow out, almost quadruple the score on the Pittsburgh Pirates yesterday. What was it, 16-4, I believe was the final. And they come right back, and they are only able to muster up, the Rockies do in this instance, 2 runs on 9 hits as they fall to a sub-500 team once again with the final score of 8-2 in this ball game on Father's Day, which is just disappointing. And I don't have the number pulled up in front of me. Let's see if I could do some mental math. I believe the Rockies were 7-31 against teams sub 500 entering this series against the Pittsburgh Pirates. So let's add 2 losses there with adding 1 win. And I believe that makes us 8-33 for the Rockies against teams with a sub 500 record. And I believe 15-13 against teams that have a record above 500. I don't get it. It doesn't make any sense to me. I'm still trying to figure it out. If you guys know why the Rockies don't play well against bad teams, but do play well against good teams, smash that subscribe button, leave me a comment while we're live on the show, and I'll break it down with you. We'll chop it up, because that just makes no sense to me. It's one thing if you're just a bad team, right? You're close to 500 against the bad teams. You lose some games that you shouldn't, right? But you're also losing to these good teams. It doesn't make any sense to me that the Rockies are going to play competitive baseball, winning baseball against teams with records above 500. I've talked about it time and time again on this show. Played well against the Rangers a few weeks back. The Phillies, the Guardians, they had a good game against the Twins. I know they lost that series, but it just does not make a lot of sense, in my opinion, with the Rockies' struggles against these sub-500 ball clubs, and those woes continue here with that loss today to the Pittsburgh Pirates and a series loss at that. Remember, the Rockies won big time on Saturday night, scoring 16 runs in that game, but just collectively in this one, unable to really get anything going in those two games beyond Saturday night. And you know who's probably feeling some type of way? And we'll spend a majority of the second segment on this guy, Dakota Hudson. Dakota Hudson's record is 2-9. His ERA is at 4.89. He was fine today. Wasn't as good as he was in his last start against, I believe it was against Minnesota, but good enough to keep the Rockies in the ball game. And he did a good job for a majority of this game. Unlucky there, and I believe it was the sixth inning when Pittsburgh really piled the runs on and started running the score up in this ball game. Dakota Hudson's probably looking around after the game saying you scored 16 runs last night, but you essentially goose-egged me in my start today. I mean, I don't know what it is. Here's what I'll say. If you're betting the Rockies games on a game-in, game-out basis, fade the Rockies when Dakota Hudson is the starting pitcher, because even though his numbers are good, for whatever reason, the Rockies offense just falls silent, dormant when Dakota Hudson is on the mound. And that was the case here. Once again, unable to provide him with any run support really whatsoever throughout the course of this ball game. So that's disappointing. Also, Victor Vodnik, who we'll spend a good chunk of the second segment on as well. I felt like he was one of the more reliable guys in the Rockies bullpen. The last week or so, he's been a little shaky. And look, the Rockies had the off day last Thursday. Now they're in the midst of this 10-game homestand, so we know the arms are going to be taxed and worn down a little bit. But Victor Vodnik seems to be like Buddy Black's, security blanket or safety blanket, the guy that he consistently goes to in close games. And he has struggled throughout the course of these last week or so. So we'll see what happens with Mr. Vodnik. But all in all, the pitching continues to be a problem, whether it's the bullpen, not today with the starting pitchers, and then the offense just not able to get the job done. So let's take a look at how this game played out, folks. It all started in the second inning where the Pirates got the scoring started. Rockies had 2 outs in the inning before Jared Trillo ripped a double to right field, and Jake Sawinski then hit an RBI single to center field, and that scored Mr. Trillo, and that put the Pirates up 1-0 in this game. So that's how the first run of the game was scored, and then it was pretty quiet until the sixth inning. Dakota Hudson doing his thing. He runs into some trouble, gets a little unlucky here. Here's the scoring sequences in that sixth inning. It's a long one, so bear with me. Brian Reynolds lines out to center field for the first out of the inning. That's how the top of the sixth inning starts, and then O'Neal Cruz hits a single to right field, which is then followed by a Nick Gonzalez ground ball that was deflected off of Dakota Hudson, which subsequently ended his day. So a ball that probably should have been recorded for an out and should have limited the damage in this sixth inning ends up deflecting off of Dakota Hudson, dribbles around, whatever it might be, runner on base, and then that ends Dakota Hudson's day, and then this is where everything just gets piled on and piled on and piled on, as Victor Vodnik, who I just mentioned it briefly earlier, is called in relief of Dakota Hudson out of the bullpen and just unable to do much for the Rockies here. He does get Rowdy Tellez to ground out for the second out of the inning in his first at bat, but that moves runners on second and third with 2 outs for Pittsburgh, and then they just break open the game here. Jared Trillo hits a single up the middle. That scores 2 runs to put the Pirates up 3-0. It was a weak single. It was one of those, not like a dribbler, definitely harder than Mookie Wilson's single in the 1986 World Series, but it was just soft enough that it was able to poke through the infield, but it wasn't hit hard enough that center fielder Jake Cave could come up and make a gunning play to home. So actually the softness of the ball off the bat is what helps the Pittsburgh Pirates get 2 runs home there, because they had runners on second and third, but that weak dribblers type single up the middle provides just enough distance for Jake Cave to get to the ball that the Pirates are able to get 2 runs home in that sequence as well. So that puts Pittsburgh up 3-0. And then Sawinski hits a single to left field. Jared Trillo advances to second. The walks are always going to kill you, as Michael A. Taylor follows that up with a walk of his own. And then you've got bases loaded, 2 outs for the Pittsburgh Pirates. And this is where things just get absolutely broken open here as Jason DeLay hits a double, his first double of the season on a line drive to right field. Jared Trillo scores, Sawinski scores, and Michael A. Taylor scores. So it's a bases clearing double in that sixth inning for Jason DeLay. And that puts the Pirates up 6-0. And once you get to 6-0 territory in the sixth inning, that's where these games start to feel a little bit like a lost cause. So look, Dakota Hudson was fine today. We'll dive into his outing here in just a moment. But between the unluckiness of that sixth inning and then the bullpen collapsing, I mean, like I said, when you get to 6-0 in the sixth inning, that white flag, I think, starts to creep into the back of the minds of the Rockies players here a little bit as they just rolled over in this game. So that's the scoring sequences in the sixth inning. Again, the Pirates rather entered into that inning with a 1-0 lead from their run that they scored in the second, and they just absolutely blow this game wide open in the sixth inning. So let's hit a quick break, though. When we come back, let's continue along with our game flow. We'll talk about how the extra runs were scored for the Pittsburgh Pirates, and we can also dive into the starting outing from Mr. Dakota Hudson and the subsequent, I'll just call it failures from the bullpen, because they just allowed this game to get blown wide open. So an unfortunate outing for the Rockies, but stick with us. We'll break it all down when we come back right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. All right, guys, let me tell you about our friends over at Game Time real quick, because summertime is here, baseball is here, concert season is here, and you're going to be able to get all of your ticketing needs taken care of with our friends over at Game Time, because Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of Major League Baseball, which makes getting tickets faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to the first pitch, and with killer last-minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guarantee, Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets. And let me dive in on some of these top features, guys, because if you're not getting your tickets for sporting events and concerts with our friends over at Game Time, to be honest, I don't know what you're doing, because they're last-minute deals. You can save up to 60% off buying last-minute tickets for sports, concerts, comedy, and theater, all that good stuff. Flash deals. Save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. Zone deals. Save even more when you choose a section and let Game Time choose the seats for you. All-in pricing. This is my favorite feature. Toggling this feature shows the total upfront with no surprise fees at checkout. And like, that's the thing. No $10 here, $5 service fee, $2. No. All-in pricing. You're going to see exactly the price you're going to pay when you get to checkout. I love that feature on Game Time. And as well as the seat views. You can get a panoramic view from your seat in the app before you buy, so you know exactly the view you're going to get from your seat. And of course, the lowest price guarantee, or Game Time will credit you not just 100%, but 110% of the difference. And with Game Time's ticket coverage, your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying Major League Baseball tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off your first purchase. Terms, they do apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. That's LOCKEDONMLB for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest prices guaranteed. Let them know the Locked On Rockies postcast sent you. And like I said, I'm getting ready to go to Chicago to see the Mets take on the Cubs at Wrigley Field. And you best believe I'm getting my tickets through the Game Time app with promo code LOCKEDONMLB. Do it for yourself. Find out. It's absolutely worth it with our friends from Game Time. All right, so welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast on this Father's Day. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. Hope everybody is doing A-OK out there, and happy Father's Day to all the dads out there and anybody that is celebrating this lovely Father's Day on this lovely Sunday, June the 16th. It's a gorgeous day outside here in the Mile High City. I know the Rockies lost, but if you were at the game today, or really just over the course of this weekend, we had some phenomenal weather. Not too hot, not super cold. It wasn't cold at all, but just nice, comfortable baseball weather for this Father's Day and really this Father's Day weekend in general. So good stuff. And again, hope everybody is doing well out there. But when we left off in our game flow, the Rockies were down 6-0. And look, I know they had a couple of runs throughout the course of this ball game. It didn't add up to anything. Also, let me say this too. If you hear a little in the background, I'm at my folks' place and my mom is making handmade pasta right now. So that is the pasta machine that is going up. I don't think you could hear it, but I can subtly hear it in my head or in my ears. I can hear it in my head too. So if you hear this little squeaky noise in the background, I apologize. I went upstairs before I started and I said, Ma, I'm going to do this Locked On Rockies postcast. You know, like, can you try to keep it a little quiet for me, and she just gave me the look. Like she's in her zone making macaroni. So I can't really bug my mom when she's making homemade macaroni on Father's Day. So that's what's going on upstairs at the Piro household right now. But yeah, just a disappointing game for the Rockies, and the Pirates go ahead and add a couple more runs in the 7th inning. Nick Mears comes in relief of Victor Vodnik, and just, more of the same. Brian Reynolds leads it off with a single to right field. O'Neill Cruz then rips his 15th double of the year to the center field. Reynolds advances to third, and then after they get Nick Gonzalez to strike out, actually, Rowdy Tellez rips a single to left field. That scores 2 runs, and that puts Pittsburgh up 8-0. So by the time that the Rockies even scored their first runs of the game, they were already in an 8-0 hole, which, like I said, man, I believe in Coors Field magic and the tomfoolery that comes with playing at Coors Field as much as anybody. But that's a miracle if you're able to dig yourself out of these types of holes on a consistent basis. So just a disappointing outcome for the Rockies in this game. And I closed with it on last night's Locked On Rockies postcast. Like, I think part of the reason why it's also so disappointing is because these are winnable games. Now, look, they've got a 4-game series coming up with the Los Angeles Dodgers. I mean, who expects the Rockies to win more than 2 games in that series, if that? I think there's a better chance the Rockies get swept, to be honest with you, than them winning 2 games in this series. I went on record with my guy Paul Holden, and I think I said a 4-6 homestand was my prediction, 5-5 at best, and that was with maybe you get lucky with a series victory against the Pittsburgh Pirates and you build some momentum moving up. That is not going to be the case, as they just they don't look good right now. And look, this was a team that in May actually did a pretty good job of playing much better collectively as a team, getting some timely pitching into the bullpen. The starting pitching settled in, right? But it's just all kind of gone sour here for the club over the course of the last, 16 days or so since we flipped the calendar over to June. So we'll see what happens. But the Rockies end up scoring a run in the bottom of the 7th inning after they challenged a play on a ground out, force out off the bat of Jake Cave, but they're able to get Jacob Stallings home, who reached base earlier in the inning. They had to review that play, of course. And the Rockies had something there. They had a couple runners on in the bottom of the 9th inning. They did get an additional run home as Nolan Jones singled on a line drive to left field, and that was able to score Stallings again. So Stallings comes around to score twice for the Rockies in this game, the lone Rocky to cross the plate and score in this matchup. And that's really all she wrote for the Rockies on the offensive part of the game today. And just they generate 9 hits. Let's pull up the box score here real quick. And, Chuck stays hot. He has a base hit. Tovar an 0-4 day. All right, we'll let that slide. He's been arguably their best and most consistent player all season. It's going to happen. Ryan McMahon has a base hit. At least he's not slumping like he was. But Stallings had a great day today, the best day of any Rockies hitter. He finishes up with 2 hits, 2 runs scored, and the 1 strikeout for him. Toglia a base hit. Nolan Jones, who's been great since coming back off the injured list. Let's see, did he have a walk today? No walks, but I believe that's now 5 walks in 3 games for Nolan Jones. But he is able to add 3 hits and an RBI to his day today. So nice stuff from Nolan Jones. Jake Cave with a base hit, and then Hunter Goodman 0-4 today after the great game last night. Amador continues to struggle. He's hitting just 115 at the big league level, so it has been a little bit of a struggle for him. But that's how the 9 hits are generated, and the 2 runs, I should add, for the Colorado Rockies in this game. So just not a lot cooking. We'll see if they can bounce back. They actually looked all right in that series against the Dodgers a couple of weeks ago. But everything else, they lost that series. But I think they won the first game on Friday night, if memory serves me correct, and then they lost the next 2 games from there. I also got to see if we could do a little Locked On crossover episode for some of those post game podcasts with our friends over at the Locked On Dodgers postcast. But like I said, whichever way you slice it, just not a good showing from the Rockies offense collectively throughout the course of this series. Look, everyone's going to point to Saturday night. Oh, Aniello, they scored 16 runs. Oh, Aniello, they did all this, and these guys had hits, and Hunter Goodman, catcher of the future, this and that. This is my favorite thing to say. Not my favorite, but it's so true. It doesn't matter if you win a game 16-4, if you win it 2-1 or 1-0. A win is a win and a loss is a loss. It's very black and white. And the Rockies' struggles against these sub 500 teams are maddening, because you can maybe look and point to some of these wins if you were able to win them consistently against these sub 500 teams and say, hey, we can play good baseball against teams right around the level of our competition. It's when you start beating, look, you'll take the wins however you can get them. But I'm just having such a tough time wrapping my brain around the fact that the Rockies record, they don't even have 10 wins this year. I believe it's 8 wins. And we've played almost, we played a lot of baseball games. Let me do some quick math because my mental math is just awful. How many games have we played throughout the course of this season? 25, 46, 71 games. We've played 71 games in this baseball season, and the Rockies have failed to eclipse 10 wins against teams with sub 500 records. Make it make sense. Make it make sense, because it sure is not making sense to me. And I think this series is just another example of that. Look, I think Friday's game was probably the most winnable. I mean, I don't know how to say that, because I thought today's game was pretty winnable up until about the 6th or 7th inning, when everything just kind of blew up in their face for the Rockies. So we'll see what happens. But like I said earlier, Dakota Hudson's got to be feeling some type of way because he actually has a pretty good start today. He finishes with 5 1/3 innings pitched, gives up 7 hits, so not great there. 3 runs, 3 of them earned, 1 walk, and 5 strikeouts. And look, a couple of those runs were a little lucky. Like I said, the ground ball, or it was a line drive rather, deflected off of him and allows, the inning to keep continuing there in the 6th inning. So a little unlucky, but in the words of Buddy Black, who I'm sure said this after the game today in his post-game press conference, hey, that's baseball. It's just how it goes sometimes. But the Rockies have just been really struggling to give Dakota Hudson any sort of run support whatsoever. At one point, he blanked the Pirates for 5 innings, but in those 5 innings, the Rockies had no runs and just 2 hits versus starting pitcher Josh Fleming for the Pittsburgh Pirates. So, I mean, that's the thing. If your starting pitcher is able to blank a team for 5 innings, the first 5 innings of a game, that is setting you up for success. That is setting you up to win ball games. And the Rockies were just unable to capitalize that and take the pressure off the bullpen. Look, I know we all like to dog on the bullpen as much as everybody, but like when you're putting them in down in every scenario or just in these losing situations, like no surprise things are going to blow up. And look, we've seen things blow up in their face even when they're playing well or they get the ball with a lead, but still it's like you're just not setting yourselves up for success. And I thought Dakota Hudson was fine today for the Rockies, good enough to put his team in a position to win. The offense just did not do enough on their part. Like I said, he did his job. He did his job, especially at Coors Field. So it's frustrating. Over his last 5 starts, he's allowed a total of 10 earned runs and 23 hits. That's pretty good for 5 starts combined. The Rockies are 1-4, 1 win to 4 losses in those last 5 games started by Dakota Hudson. That is just unfortunate. And the one game in those 5 that they managed to win, it was against the Los Angeles Dodgers, believe it or not. I believe it was that Friday game now that I think about it. And it's just, again, doesn't make any sense to me, because you're going to go out there with Dakota Hudson dealing and you're going to figure out a way to beat the Dodgers with Freddie Freeman and Ohtani and Mookie Betts and company. But then, O'Neal Cruz, who I love, and this Pittsburgh Pirates team is fun. They come to town. You're going to lose 2 or 3. I don't know. It's interesting. But like I said, Dakota Hudson's probably feeling some type of way. So hopefully he can just stay on the straight and narrow, stay focused on one game at a time, one pitch at a time, because I'm sure it's very frustrating when you're doing your job, but the offense and the lineup around you is failing to do theirs. And look, I don't think there's any hard feelings. But, I mean, this has been a recurring theme for the Rockies over the course of the season. Dakota Hudson starts, pitches well, offense doesn't do their job. So we'll see what happens. But, all right, let's hit a quick break, our final break of the show. When we come back, we'll put a bow on it. I'll give you my 3 strikes, my 2 big takeaways, and my final takeaway, which is the 3rd strike, which will be a look ahead to this series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, who are not playing the best baseball right now. So maybe an opportunity for the Rockies to bounce back. We'll find out. Stick with us back in a few minutes right here on your Locked On Rockies postcast. All right, y'all, let me tell you about our friends over at Supply House real quick, because you're going to want to get your supplies from the site that's made for the skilled trades, supplyhouse.com. Supplyhouse.com is the reliable way to order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Shop a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from over 400 top brands and get your order delivered right to your door with fast shipping from coast to coast. Need help with an order? Get expert support and industry-leading service from the friendliest folks in the business, and talk to a real person every time. Pros in the skilled trades can get a competitive edge by joining SupplyHouse.com's free TradeMaster program. Every TradeMaster gets access to a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Join the thousands of trade pros already benefiting from their free memberships at SupplyHouse.com/TM and order plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies from anywhere with just a few clicks at SupplyHouse.com. calm. And look, I was walking in my neighborhood. I was in my parents' neighborhood, and people are doing their yard work. They're doing their lawn work. They're fixing up their houses, the gutters, whatever it might be. Supply House is going to take great care of you. Be sure to visit them at supplyhouse.com and let them know Locked On Rockies sent you. All right, welcome on back into your Locked On Rockies postcast. I'm your host, Aniello Piro. Be sure to follow me on social media at Media by AP. Appreciate you guys rocking with us on a consistent basis. And we'll be here just after just about each and every Colorado Rockies game the rest of the way. So keep an eye on that and having a great time doing these shows, even when they lose 8-2. That's why I try to keep my energy up for yesterday's 16-4 win. And when they beat Minnesota earlier in the week last week, I think I wore my Twisted Tea hat. So, we got to have fun, because more often than not, these shows are going to be like this, where it's like, well, here's what went wrong. Here's what they need to do better. Here's what they have to improve on, because this Rockies team is kind of like a roulette wheel, for just about each and every game that they play, at this point in the season. So we'll see what happens. But we touched on Dakota Hudson not getting run support despite a pretty solid outing for him today. Again, 10 earned runs and 23 hits in his last 5 starts combined. And the Rockies are just 1-4 in those 5 games, with the lone win coming against the Los Angeles Dodgers of all teams. So we shall see. But the offense, man, I don't know what's going on with them right now, because they muster up 16 I believe, now I want to confirm, because now I'm thinking that I wrote down the score of the game. They mustered up 16 hits is what I have written down. What's today? Today's the 16th. So that means I need to go to the 15th. Excuse me. Watch this be right. Yeah, so it is right. So they scored 16 runs on 16 hits yesterday to the Rockies. They're doing their job there, exploding. Hopefully a sign of things to come. Carry some momentum over. Instead, the Rockies just let it all out and didn't save anything for their game today, as they have just 9 hits, I believe. And I know that looks a lot better than it actually is, but a lack of timely hitting for the Rockies over the course of this series, and really their last couple of series. I think back to the end of that series against the Dodgers, Cincinnati, they had some offensive struggles. Minnesota, they had some struggles, and now it looks like it continues, with the exception of Saturday's game against the Pittsburgh Pirates. But they finished with 9 hits in this game, do the Rockies. And I got to update my stats because I was doing the notes before the game. So they have 18 hits combined in the 2 games that were not played on Saturday. So between Friday and Sunday, 18 hits combined compared to 16 hits alone in Saturday's game. So I don't know. I think the lineup construction's fine. You've got a lot of young guys, so you're going to have to just kind of deal with the ebbs and flows that kind of comes with. But it's interesting because just the lack of those timely hits. And it's like Ezekiel Tovar can't just keep hitting doubles and home runs and expect you guys to win some games. Look, I know Ryan McMahon had an interesting day today, good game yesterday, as did Hunter Goodman, but it's the consistency. For as good as Hunter Goodman's game was yesterday in an individual aspect, you'd rather, what do you go, 5 for 5, I think, yesterday? He had 2 home runs, had a double, was a triple shy of the cycle. Like, you'd rather spread that out. And I know it's like obviously impossible to essentially do that, but like, as good as it is to kind of consolidate all those runs and hits in one game, it's frustrating when you wake up the next day and you go back to play less than 24 hours later, and your offense is just giving you next to nothing. And like I said, they had some runners on base there in the latter innings, specifically that 9th inning, a couple runners on. But when you're already down, 7-8 runs in the game, it's hard to truly believe that you're going to be able to come back and fight your way back in these games, right? Okay, it's 4-1, it's 4-0, 5-0, even 6-0. Maybe you've got a little bit of a chance, but when you're going down, basically been down and out and held in check offensively all game, it's just hard to win games in a consistent manner like that. So we'll see what happens with the Rockies moving forward. The bullpen, that's my second strike here as well. It just kind of is what it is. I think I used the roulette wheel analogy already in this show, but that is like playing 000 roulette, because you just never know what you're going to get when you spin this wheel with the bullpen, because Dakota Hudson comes in 5 1/3 innings pitched as the starter, 7 hits, 3 earned runs. He's fine, right? Gives up 1 walk, but good enough, like I said, to win this game. And Victor Vodnik, who's been pretty good in the time I've been doing this podcast, struggles. Two-thirds of an innings pitched, 3 hits, 3 runs, all of them earned, and a walk. And like I said, I saw my guy Drew Kreisman mention that he should have probably gotten out of that inning with a called third strike that was not called. Something that probably gets called in the robot umpire era as that continues to rapidly approach. But you got to eat what's on your plate. And Victor Vodnik just unable to get the job done today. Nick Mears comes in, He throws an inning, 3 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 strikeouts, which is fine, but his ERA is now sitting at 7.42. And then it's really just kind of rinse and repeat from there. But, you look at your first 2 relievers out of the bullpen here today, and they give up 5 earned runs combined. Dakota Hudson gave up 3 earned runs in 5 1/3 innings pitched. And then in an inning and 2/3 combined from Victor Vodnik and Mears, they're giving up 5 runs, all of them earned. I mean, you're just not going to win games consistently if this is the output. And I know I'm a broken record. I know. But, it's just the reality of the situation. Address the bullpen. Fix the bullpen. This is why you have to look at trading guys like Elias Diaz, Ryan McMahon, and Brendan Rodgers. Because as much as I enjoy Elias Diaz and McMahon and Rodgers to an extent, they're not going to be a part of your team in all likelihood 2 or 3 years, specifically with Diaz, 2 or 3 years down the line when hopefully you're contending. When Ezekiel Tovar is 24, 25 years old, Adiel Amador is 23, 24 years old. Nolan Jones and Brenton Doyle, if they're still on their team, are 29, 30 years old, still plus players at that point in their career. And so it's just like I look at the bullpen, and it's not getting any better with guys they have in AA or AAA or single A for that matter. You've got to go out there, and whether it's overpaying for guys like they did with Greg Holland back in the day, who was the other start or the other closer that they had? Oh my gosh, I'm drawing a blank, but he was after Greg Holland the year after, the big tall guy, also from the Kansas City Royals. Wade Davis? Man, that's a name from the vault. Hold on, now my own curiosity. Yeah, Wade Davis. Look at that. All right, I still got it up here sometimes. They had to overpay for some of these guys or take a flyer on these guys coming off of injury, right? Because all I know is Victor Vodnik, Mears, and Tyler Kinley are not going to be your bullpen of the future, nor are you going to feel pretty good about that. Now, I did see that German Marquez, I believe, threw a rehab start today, so it looks like he's on the road to recovery, which would certainly give the starting pitching a boost. Maybe you move one of the guys from the rotation to the bullpen, have a middle reliever that you can rely on a little bit more. And not just continue to roll Victor Vodnik and Mears and these guys out there and Tyler Kinley because the results have been disastrous, but we shall see. So the bullpen just has to improve. And I just think as the bullpen continues to struggle, it's just more and more reason for the Rockies to look to make some moves at this trade deadline to get in some quality prospects or some quality bullpen pitching. The problem is no one wants to give up bullpen pitching at the trade deadline because if you're acquiring players, that means that you're not going to give up your bullpen unless you've just got an embarrassment of riches and you can afford to give up some of those pieces. But they've got to figure that out. So we'll see what happens here with the Rockies moving forward. But before we get out of here, did the Dodgers game go final? It was, I believe they were losing as I was starting to record this. Let's find out. Oh no, they win today. 3-0 against the Kansas City Royals on this Father's Day. So the Dodgers improved to 44-29. They're coming into Coors Field for a 4-game set, and they're 6-4 in their last 10 games, including that victory. Now they were 5-5. So they're not playing their best baseball. Certainly a beatable team right now, I would say. Easier said than done. We saw the Rockies beat them in a game in their series a couple of weeks ago. Let's see if they can, at least try to split this series, if not win it at home with the Dodgers coming to town. And they'll have a good chance to get off to a good start because Cal Quantrill will be on the mound for the Rockies, and he's been one of, if not their best starting pitcher throughout the course of the entire season. Almost an all-star candidate with how he's pitched since the month of May. He's 6-4 with a 3.30 ERA in his last time out against the Minnesota Twins, a pretty darn good team. He goes 6 innings pitched, no earned runs, and only gives up 3 hits. So that's what's dealing for the Rockies on the mound tomorrow as they open their series against the Los Angeles Dodgers with Cal Quantrill on the mound, and they'll go up against James Paxton, who's been phenomenal for the Dodgers this season. He's 6-1 with a 3.92 ERA, and he also dominated his last time out against the Texas Rangers. He went 6 innings pitched, gives up 1 earned run on 2 hits. So, as long as Coors Field keeps itself to the side and we have a more standard baseball game, this should, in theory, be a well-pitched game from both teams in a rather lower-scoring game. And I think the outcome of that is more so dependent on if Cal Quantrill can keep his good performance up. So that's what's coming up for the Rockies with a 4-game series against the Los Angeles Dodgers, getting ready to start on Monday as we find ourselves now in the middle of this 10-game homestand with the Rockies with a 1-2 record after losing to the Pittsburgh Pirates in the series and losing today in the finale 8-2. So let me know what you guys think in the comments. Do you think the Rockies have a fighting chance to win this series against the Dodgers? Should the Rockies look to trade Elias Diaz, Ryan McMahon, Brendan Rodgers? Should they or shouldn't they? Make your argument in the comments and make sure to smash that subscribe button on the brand spanking new Locked On Denver Sports YouTube channel. Appreciate you guys big time. I'm going to go help my mom make some fresh made pasta upstairs. And one last time for any of the dads out there listening or some of the sons of dads out there, happy Father's Day to you and yours. I'm a baseball fan because of my dad. I'm doing this show because of my baseball fan, and it was established by my dad. So happy Father's Day to all the dads out there as well. But that's going to do it for me. The Rockies lose the series finale 8-2. They fall to 25-46 on the season. Pittsburgh improves to 34-37. And we'll see what happens with the mighty Los Angeles Dodgers coming to town. But that's going to do it for me, folks. Enjoy your Sunday. Happy Father's Day. And we'll talk to you mañana after Game 1 of the Dodgers-Rockies series at Coors Field. Have a good day, y'all.